Jeff, it's good to see you again, man. Today, we want to talk a little bit about how do you build a prospecting culture. We've talked before about prospecting in general. We've talked about culture, but when you think about a prospecting culture, it's how do you get a team to think about and consistently execute prospecting? What are your thoughts?
Sure. Thanks. It's good to see you again. Yeah, love the topic. I'm a big fan of prospecting. It's one of my favorite things to do. I guess that makes me a little weird, but I do enjoy it. I'll talk, I guess, about things that I've picked up from others and then things that I've, deployed myself. The first company I worked at right out of college, something they did, we used to have something called Super Call Wednesday. And Super Call Wednesday was a dedicated day to cold calling. It was a competition, so everyone would set goals at the beginning of the day. The more ambitious your goal, the higher likelihood you would win because you had to hit your goal in order to be eligible to like win the prize. So the more lofty goal that you set, you get credit for that. And I remember, like, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm very competitive. I used to lock myself in a room for 8 hours. I wouldn't eat, drink, go to the bathroom. And I'm not saying people should do that, but like that's just
Obsessive prospecting. I
it
love it.
was obsessive. Yeah, I mean, I took it. I mean, look, if you're trying to create a culture and you got young people at the time, I was like 22 years old. I took it very seriously. But I think having like a dedicated day, putting some jazz around it, prizes, getting it competitive, but also fun. Like I think that's a great thing to do. Another thing I've seen in another company is like whenever meetings get booked, they put it in a Slack channel and they talk about like who the meeting was booked with and how they got the meeting and things like that. I think just getting company eyes on it is a good thing. It kind of, makes people feel good about what they're working on. We also would have at that same company a meeting, a pipeline generation meeting every week for both the AEs and the SDRs. So it was kind of a way of holding everyone accountable because everyone knew like what inputs they needed in order to meet their numbers. And so if you say, hey, you need to set, 2 meetings a week, at the end of the week, if every week you're saying, yeah, I got zero, it doesn't look good, right? So I think doing that, and also just like using that meeting as a forum to share insights and like how we got it done and methods that worked or things that didn't work is a great thing. Something that I've done, and this is because I genuinely feel this way. I think that it's important to make the people that are doing prospecting understand the importance of it. Whenever I hire SDRs, I always tell them that they are the lifeblood of the organization. And I don't say that because they're generally right out of college and I want to make them feel good. It's actually just because I believe that that's true. Without them there are no leads. There is no business. And that's something that I think they need to understand is that everything does stem from them. And obviously it's a team effort. You need product, you need engineering, you need everything in order to make it work. So I'm not discounting any of these things, but the sales funnel starts with this activity, and without it, there is nothing. So that's something that I think if you establish that as part of your culture, that this is actually perhaps the most important activity that you can perform, get people to buy into that. I think that that's something that's really important. So those are my thoughts. Would love to hear yours and see where we are aligned or you have differing ideas.
I don't even need to go, Jeff. That was so good. You hit on all these key points, and frankly, this is top of mind and fresh for me because we just did kind of a call down day this week, and it was a blast. And I'll compare and contrast even that to some that I've done historically. I can't say that I've ever locked myself in a room and starved myself and pounded the phones, but I, like you, love prospecting, so I guess that makes me weird too. You started at a critical area, which is, kind of getting that leadership buy-in. I think it's important to make sure that your leaders understand what you're doing and why, and putting it on their radar. I had a rep, a seller that I work with that had this great idea of doing this call down day. And, some of the team has access to tools like Zoom Info, where you can go out and find phone numbers, find email addresses. We were using Sales Navigator to go in and at bulk export some of these leads into an automation tool and have email addresses, and then construct messages that would really resonate with some of these organizations. And, sending 50, 60, 100 mails per organization to try to drum up conversations with C-level, VP level, that was working. And so having it on the leadership's radar, it does a couple of things. Number one, it shows that you are, to your point, really serving the business. You're putting in opportunities that are going to fuel us for the foreseeable future. Second, it also helps you to beget some of those rewards and recognition. We got a pretty good budget to do this and execute and give rewards for like the top 10 performers during this prospecting day. So that was kind of foundational. The other thing you said that really resonated with me, we had a chat ongoing throughout the day, and I was doing some working sessions. I think the other element of if you want to develop a prospecting culture, lead by example. I was in the thick of it with the team. I was doing prospecting myself with the team, constructing messages, using my title to try to be a door opener in some cases. And I think that's a key element. But we also had a Teams chat, and we're talking throughout the day about, who booked this meeting and how many messages we sent out here, how many net new LinkedIn connections we had received, things of that nature. A lot of competitive people in sales. And so it's always good to make sure that you're stoking that competitive fire. But at the same token, it also helps get folks that may not be in the game as much. They may set up and take notice. The other thing I would say is critical with this is, we have a big mantra at Microsoft, and it's model, coach, care. From a leadership perspective, modeling the behavior that you want and coaching the behavior that you want, training people how to do it. I spend a lot of time showing people how I've prospected. And it's not because I consider myself particularly savvy in prospecting. I'm very passionate about it, but I've learned a lot. I mean, I've done prospecting of various sorts for 20 plus years, and I've taken on new tools, and I'm always looking to learn. So, even just seeing like what other people are doing from a prospecting perspective, learning from them and sharing what I'm doing that has worked for me, those types of shared idea concepts, I think help the team tremendously when you're trying to develop a culture of prospecting. I think the last thing I would mention would be, just as you think about prospecting, and it kind of encapsulates everything that you said, realize the value of what prospecting does. And I think leadership can set the tone for this. The best environments that I've ever been in, leadership has been very transparent about these are the budgets. This is why the budget is what it is. These are the margins. This is why the margin is what it is. They get you to buy into the business model all up. And when you do that, when you feel that ownership, you care about the forecast. You care about filling the funnel. And so I think when you've got people that are engaged and they can see the impact that they're having by creating these net new opportunities and going out and prospecting, or when you realize that prospecting is really all about going out and creating a relationship that you didn't have or moving the ball down the field, that's the key. It's not about the deal. The relationship will beget the deal. Prospecting is all about going out and creating a relationship that you didn't have. And sometimes it's uncomfortable muscle for folks because they don't feel comfortable in those situations. But you're embarking on a new relationship. And that's ultimately what you want to consider when it comes down to prospecting. You don't have to conquer the world in a day when you're prospecting. You just have to have a net new conversation. So thinking about all the ways that you can do that, different tools that can empower you, social media, leads that your company may have or may have had in the past. Years ago, the biggest deal in my channel's history was one that I found that was just sitting dormant in a CRM that had been a one-off purchase. And I went back, kind of resuscitated the lead, had a conversation on a prospecting day just like this, and turned into a multi-million-dollar deal. So, I think the long and short of it is, if you want to create a prospecting culture, develop a mindset around how important prospecting is. Make sure you get everybody in the boat, and make sure that you find ways to recognize, to learn together, and that you're modeling the behavior.
Love it. Those are all great ideas. I love having the chat and everything too. Great way to keep people, on the same team.
It is. Jed Blunt calls it a sacred prospecting hour. And it's true. You need to be intentional about prospecting, carve out time for it. I would literally go in and schedule yourself prospecting time, even if it's once a week, 30 minutes a day, or, an hour a week, or whatever it is. But you've got to continually plant seeds. Your garden's not going to grow if you're not constantly planting seeds.
Agreed. Love it.
Good deal. Outstanding. Well, everybody that's taking this in today, go forth and prospect.
Thanks, Carson.
Thank you, Jeff.